Have you ever wondered how hackers stay off the grid and out of the log files while running network scans or looking up? And that is not exactly what I was going to say. I was going to say looking up open source intelligence, but whatever, moving along. So how do they do it? How do they stay on the down low? Well, what they do is they either use a proxy, they use Proxychains, they use Tor, which is better known as the onion router, or they could even use a VPN to some extent. But the first three are going to be the main ones we're going to cover in this video. And with that said, I am going to show you moving forward how to use proxies, Proxychains, and Tor to stay under the radar. And we're going to do most of this on a kalilinux box, but what I'm showing you would pertain to almost any modern Linux distribution as well. All right, and to help visualize what we're going to be discussing in this video, we over at nielsennetworking, always taking care of the viewer, went out and found some NSA approved, it's used by NASA, very high-end graphic designer software that we are going to use, that I'm going to use, to illustrate what we're talking about today. All right, and for the first illustration, let's just set a baseline here. Baseline here is going to be you, and this is going to be wherever you're going. Let's just say you're looking at YouTube. All right, so this is YouTube. Here you are. This is you on your Kali or any Linux box. All right, so this is you. You then say, okay, I've opened up Chrome or whatever browser you want to use. I'm going to YouTube. You get up here, DNS says nobody, it's over here. You go to YouTube, you're good. So the DNS server got your IP, YouTube got your IP. You don't care. You're not doing anything that you care about, them knowing your IP at this point. You get their content back, they get your IP, they throw it in the analytics, they sell you ads, you're happy, they're happy, their shareholders are happy. So that's how we do that. Now, let's say we aren't just going to YouTube and we're not going to other places. We're going to be performing, if I can get rid of this, an authorized pen test against a client. Let's say we're going to be doing a network scan on a web server. Let's do a triangle for a web server. All right. So this is our Apache web server. All right, cool. And again, this is you. I don't know what happened to you. I just don't know what happened to you. All right, so here's the thing. Normally the IP. Let's say you've figured that out already. Let's go with red. So you run your Nmap scan here. Boom, you get it. You get your results back. They send them the results back. You're happy. You're like, cool, I got the results back. I'm good. You know what? But we should verify that, you say. So then you decide, let's run one more scan. You got to run your scan again. And this time you get rejected. And you're like, what the heck? I can't even get in. And what you realize is that you've been blocked either by a firewall, an intrusion detection, prevention, whatever system it is, said, hey, this guy's running too many scans. Once was an accident, twice is not an accident. So it blocks you. So this is where a proxy server is going to come in. So let's clear this board up here and show you what a proxy server is going to look like. All right, so here's what a proxy server is going to look like. Literally, this is exactly what it looks like. I'm that good of a illustrator. So what's going to happen is we are now blocked over here on this web server. And I forgot to mention, you're also logged. So hopefully you had permission to do that like I told you to at the beginning of the video. If not, you're probably going to be getting a phone call or, a knock on the door, something unpleasant. So get permission. So we told this proxy server, which we'll say is over here at 1.1.1.2. And we say, okay, we've configured Proxychains or another software to relay our request. So we're going to go over here. And we're going to go to the proxy server and we're going to say, we want you to run that scan now against this because we've been blocked. So the scan gets run, the results get sent back to the proxy server, and then the proxy server sends them back to you. Everyone's happy, you get results, da-da-da-da-da. Now the problem with a single proxy like this is, what do you think is going to happen eventually? You're going to get blocked here. And if it's a single proxy server, they may, depending if you did anything you weren't supposed to or you did any damage, they might subpoena the log from this proxy server. They might say, it was this guy. And you're going to be in the same situation you were in as if you just ran it directly. So not ideal, better than nothing, but not ideal. This is where Proxychains is going to come in. So let's look at that now. And my friends, this is a stunning representation of what a 4 proxy configured proxy chain would look like. So how it works is, and this can be set up multiple ways, we've added these all to the configuration of proxy chains. So there's 4 in here, and you can set them up where they have to go from one to the other in a specific order. You can have them randomized, dynamic, however you want it. But for us, we're going to be using one that is dynamic. So what it's going to do is it's going to go here, 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 then here, and then here. And then we get results, and we're good, right? And if it ends up blocking one of them, this one will just take over. Or if it blocks this one could take over. And then, of course, if it blocks that one, you're down to this one taking over. But you could have hundreds of these. So that's how proxy chains work. And again, there's multiple ways to set it up, but that's kind of the gist of it. They rely on each other. And the good news is, now let's say these people, for whatever reason, you forgot to get permission, they now have to go back and say, I need to know who this was. It was this person. This person says, well, it was this person. This person says, no, it was this person. And they say, no, it was this person. And by the time they get around there, most people are just going to give up. So you get how this can be advantageous to have when you are also trying to, hide your presence online for whatever reason. So that's in a nutshell how proxy chains works. So let's move on to Tor. All right, and for the final illustration here of Tor, I held nothing back. I pulled all the punches. I appreciate you enough that I did this for you. I put colors in it and everything. If you appreciate me, you'd be so kind as to smash that like button. If you want some free unicorn tiers, you will subscribe and you will not miss any of this amazing content. I mean, it doesn't get much better than this, to be honest. I've seen a lot of what's on YouTube. Anyhow, Tor. How Tor is going to work is we're still trying to get from here to here. We're still going to go through a bunch of nodes. We're going to go through the entry node, a middle node, maybe another middle node, an exit node, and we're going to get here, right? Cool. Seems pretty similar to proxy chains, right? Here's the difference. While you're going through this, in Tor, all this gets encrypted. Means it's much more private. It's also much slower. So your performance definitely gains a lot of privacy, excuse me, but you lose performance, a lot of performance. But you know what? If you're out there and you don't want this person to know who you are, it doesn't get much more secure than this. So that in a nutshell is how Tor works. There's a lot more to it than that. But again, this is the overview that I can give you without spending an hour on it. Maybe in a future video, we'll go in depth into Tor, but that's kind of how it works. There's 3 nodes in it. There's entry, middle, and exit. This is your entry. This is your exit. These are your middle. Middle can have as many as you want, so it can entry and exit, but this is where most of the bouncing around is going to get done. So enough of that. Let's move and actually get to the command prompt and show you how to configure these things. So you can, use proxy chains, use Tor, or just use a straight up proxy if you want. All right, let's get to it. All right, I know you're probably mind blown from all those amazing illustrations I just presented to you, but try to keep up. What we're going to do is if you're on kalilinux, which hopefully most of you are, you're going to have it really easy. And you're just going to go cd etc. You're going to go in there and you're going to look for something that starts with proxy. So what you can do is, actually we won't do it that way. We'll go ls and we're just going to go ahead and look for prox. And here's the one we're looking for. These are backup copies I just created when I was messing around. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to go ahead and open this using whatever text editor you want to use. But real quick, if you're not on Kali and you need to find this, you can always just type in, if I would stop doing that, you can just type in locate proxy chains. And if you scroll up and look for the one right here, you'll find this if this happened to be in a different directory. So that's how you guys would do it. I'm going to go ahead with nano. I'm going to open it up and we get a few options here. Dynamic chain is what this is going to do is it's going to be set up where all the proxies that we put in the list below under our proxy server list will get used in order. It allows you to have better control over what proxies are used in what order. So let's say you wanted to make sure your fastest proxies were used before it attempted to use another proxy, or if at certain steps you needed it to go through a different proxy for whatever reason to get around, a block or something. You were trying to play World of Warcraft, if anyone still plays that. Whatever it is, you're trying to get around. So that's where you would use dynamic. Strict chain can be a little more, it's very similar in a way to dynamic, but it can be a little more troublesome because what happens is with dynamic, If one is offline, one of the proxies, it will skip to the next. Strict will just air out and quit. If it gets to, so it gets to, it's using proxy 1, proxy 2 in the chain, it gets to the third one to jump through. It's not there, it just dies. Or dynamic will go 1, 2, 3, oh, 4 is not there, skip to 5, and keep going until it gets to the, the end result. Random is very similar, but instead of going 1, 2, 3, it's going to go 1, 3, 5, 7, boom, out of the thing. I'm going to start using random. You can use whatever you want, but I'm going to use random for this example because I usually get the best results. Then it will just pick whatever's in your list and then go through a next one, whatever's in, and kind of that way. I just seem to get a little bit better performance with random, but do whatever you want. Proxy DNS, this needs to be uncommented. And I should have mentioned, whenever you see a pound sign in front of writing, that means it is commented out, meaning those are there for comments. It could also be there, just to put a note or an explanation or whatever, which I guess they're all kind of comments. But anyway, we want this uncommented because what this tells it is to use a proxy DNS server. Don't use ours because that would defeat the point of trying to hide our, online presence if we're going to use our own real DNS servers. So make sure this is uncommented. And then you're going to come down here and we're going to ignore all this and we're going to go straight to the bottom. And down here, they give you some examples of the proxy list format. It's pretty straightforward. You're going to have your proxy type, your IP, your port number, username, and password if needed. There's several types of proxies. You're going to have SOCKS. You're going to have HTTP, HTTPS, SOCKS 5 and 4. Those are basically the same thing. The only difference is SOCKS 5 is like the newer version. It's kind of like SSL versus TLS, older and newer. HTTP, same thing. HTTP proxies are going to be used for web applications, web surfing, that type of thing. SOCKS 5 can do all that and more. That's what we're going to use when we run an Nmap scan, things like that. So if you can find a reliable SOCKS 5 server, go with that. By default, you're probably going to notice this is going to have a SOCKS 4, SOCKS 5 with a loopback address, which is your 127.0.0.1 with the port number of 9050. This by default is going to use Tor, which we will use at the end, but we're going to start with a single proxy to follow along with what we looked at in the illustrations. So what we're going to do is we're just going to go ahead and uncomment this first one. And we're going to use this as if it were just a single proxy using this proxy server on this port to get to our target. So what we're going to do is we're going to get out of it. We're going to save it. And what we're going to do is we're going to use Proxychain. And what you do is you type in the name of the application you want to use Proxychain. So first you put the command Proxychain, then you're going to put the application. So this is going to be Firefox here, but this could be Nmap. This could be whatever you're going to do. And then where you want to go. We're going to go to DuckDuckGo because it's, a pretty secure search engine. And I just thought it would be a good example since we're trying to do this, privately. So we're going to go ahead and run it. And you'll notice as it's running, you can look down here and see the actual proxy chain doing its thing here. So we'll go ahead and let this do its thing. And in a couple seconds here, we should load up to our DuckDuckGo website. And as you can see, as it's loading, we're using the random chain. Here's the server, it's popping through. Here's all the content, it's slowly loading. And again, it is a little bit slower. I have noticed once it gets going, it actually gets going relatively quick. So we'll just give it a couple more seconds here. All right, we should be getting there pretty soon. You got to remember, we're also, you'll see in a minute, but we're pulling from across the planet right now. I think this is in like Tokyo, I think. Okay, so here we are. So what we're going to do is now to see where we're at and what we look like to everyone else, we're going to just do what is my IP, and we're going to let it do its thing again. And as you can see, this pulled up pretty quick, but it's still pulling some information. But look, it thinks we're in Hong Kong right now. I can tell you we're not in Hong Kong. So that's how you would do it. Let's take this up a notch and go ahead and add one more additional proxy and see how it looks. All right, and I'm back in the Proxychains config. And what I've done is I've uncommented dynamic chain because I want to try that out since we already used the other one I like, which is random. And I actually commented out random chain. And then I went ahead and added a secondary SOCKS 5 proxy server whenever I can get to the bottom of the list, which is right here. And I believe this one said it was in Atlanta. So what we're going to do is we're going to Control X out of it. And real quick, how you can find these proxy servers is as simple as going here and going to free SOCKS 5 proxy servers. And you just get there. And I mean, Here, this is what's funny. The first one that comes up is sponsored, which I'm sure isn't going to really be free. But as you scroll down, you can see the ones that are actually free, like this one. And this is just, the first page of them. And then you go, and as you can see, there's tons of websites that host them. Beware, they're all not working. They're all not perfect. They're all not fast. You'll need to check them out. And what I would suggest, like I did for this video, I went and found 2 good ones that worked really well, but I'd go out and find like 5 good ones and just log them down. And then once you have them, you never have to touch it again. So that's that. So let's try something different here. And let's, something different sounds like an Nmap scan. So let's do an Nmap scan, and let's do it against scanme.nmap.org, which if you haven't seen my other videos, I use this in those. This is a free site that Nmap, the organization, actually put up for you to scan and test against in practice. The only thing they ask on their website is that you do not DDoS it. So we're going to go ahead and run this to get a baseline, and then we'll use it. We'll do the same scan using Proxychains. All right, and we get results, and you can see we have 2 open ports, HTTP and SSH. So now we're going to do the same thing, but we're going to do it using Proxychains, but we're also going to target specific ports. So the command's going to be a little bit different. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and do it like this. And I'm lazy, so I cut and paste this ahead of time. We're going to do the IP, which as you can see is right here. So we're going to do the IP instead of the domain name. I just had better results with that. We're going to scan port 22 and port 80. That's what you tell it with this switch. And then we're going to do a TCP scan. So we're going to go ahead and run this. And we should be able to see the proxies. As you can see, here's the dynamic chain going through. So it went from here to here. Looks like it's taking a little time here, so it's getting hung up. I wonder if it's going to time out on us. And this can happen. So we'll wait and see. Okay, so it did time out. Not good. So what happened was by it timing out on port 80, it came back as closed. So one of these 2 results is wrong. So let's try rerunning it one more time, see what we get. Yeah, and it's still giving us that port 80 is down. So what we're going to do is there's one more. This is kind of like a little Easter egg for this website, if you will. We're going to scan for an extra port here. We're going to scan to see what services are running right here. And if you know what this is going to return, points for you. If not, have a good laugh if it works out here. Go ahead and run it. See what we get here. And look at that. That is the elite service. So interesting enough, you can see we are getting a closed on HTTP, which I still don't completely believe. If I had more time, I would probably investigate this. I might add some different proxies to see what results we get. But that's, you know what, here, let's just run one more of these and see what we get. And now look at it. It's returning that it's not up. So maybe it isn't up, or maybe some prick is DDoSing it or whatever. So that is how you would use it. You can see how the chain goes again. It goes through Hong Kong, and then it's coming back through Atlanta. Well, it did anyway for up here where it actually worked on SSH. So that's all fine and dandy. So we're about to head into the final part of the video, and that's going to be Tor. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back to the proxy chain config. All right, I'm back in Proxychains.configuration, and what we're going to do is we're going to leave dynamic chain as it is. You're going to go down here, and you're going to do what I did. And you're going to comment out everything except for the SOCKS 5 with your loopback address, which is this 127.0.0.1 on this port. That's good. So we're going to do Control X to get out of that. Next thing, we need to verify that Tor is running. Tor is installed by default in kalilinux. If it is not installed, you can run this command. I'm not going to do that because it's already installed, but that's what you would do. So what we want to do is we want to check to see, we don't want to stop it, we want to see if it's running. So as you can see here, it's not, it's dead. We don't want a dead Tor, that's not cool. So what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to do the same command, but we're going to need to start it. And there we go. So with that done, we can now go back and open up Firefox or Nmap, whatever we want to do. All right, let's go ahead and go to Proxychain, and we'll just go to Firefox. You know what? Because it's already there. And let's find out where we're at now. What is my IP? Let's see where it thinks we're coming from. See, you're going to get this, and you're going to get this with proxies too. This isn't just a Tor thing, but sometimes the exit nodes and the proxies are known free proxies, if you will, out there, and they block them. So unfortunately, you're going to get that. But you know what? They didn't know who we were other than that fake IP, so that's pretty good, right? And that's what we're trying to accomplish here. So let's see about this one. And it looks we're coming from the Netherlands. So we have now been in Hong Kong, we've been in Atlanta, and we've been in the Netherlands. And that's pretty cool, right? We're actually in Amsterdam. There's lots of interesting things in Amsterdam. So that is how Tor works. And Tor is pretty straightforward to use. Anyways, as always, make sure you are asking for permission before you go out and do anything with any of this information. And when you're done and you didn't want to use Tor anymore, you would just do a service Tor stop, and you're back to normal surfing or whatever you're doing, or scanning. So that is going to do it for the video. If you found this useful, especially those wonderful illustrations at the beginning, give me a like, subscribe, do whatever you want to do, comments, ask questions in the comments. As you can see, I try to get back to everyone. Even you people that are asking me things I can't respond on YouTube with. So hope you have a good rest of your day, and I will talk to you another time. Take care.